Hey, what's up? I'm Rachel Starr. So if you saw my last video, it was like done in the hospital and stuff, and I've been going through the craziest thing in the world. So finally well enough to even like talk about it. It is a long, confusing, bizarre story. So get ready. For about a year, I've been getting kind of sick, and it started with me being really nauseous, and my neck would start like turning red, like just kind of flushing, and it'd only be like that for like 5-10 minutes, and then it would go away. My acne got really, really bad, but it was not normal acne. Like this wasn't normal acne stuff that was happening, and nothing seemed to work on it. I was using every acne treatment you can imagine. I even went to this really expensive spa place, like seeing if, hey, maybe it's more money so they can help. It did not, but it did feel good on my face, but it didn't do anything. I have so much that happened. I literally have a notebook to hit it all. Also, I was getting more and more tired. I was losing weight because of the sickness. In January, I finally went to a dermatologist. The dermatologist would not look at any of the photos because I've been documenting it of my neck, and he wouldn't even like come within 2 feet of me. And he's like, "Oh, it's cystic acne." And I'm like, "No, listen, I've had acne my entire life. This isn't acne." And he was like, "No, it is." I'm like, "Listen, they're like BBs in my skin. I can tell you where one's gonna come up because they hurt that bad. And when they come to the surface, they split open into a big sore." I was like, "There is no pop. There's nothing, like there's no pus in there. You can't pop anything. Like it just splits open into a big sore and then heals and goes away." But of course, like 5 others have popped up, and this keeps happening. So he wouldn't even look at it. I asked them to swab. They said no. I find another dermatologist that my insurance doesn't cover, out of pocket. It was fun. I go to her, and she says, "Well, you have inflammatory acne and cystic acne." And I'm like, could you swab it? And she said no. She's like, "No, because that's what it is." And she puts me on medication. "Oh, this will make it go away." I mean, I agree with the inflammatory part. My face was quite inflamed, but no. In the meantime, I also start breaking out in hives. I have never been allergic to anything in my life, so I keep breaking out in hives. One time, it was like from head to toe, and it was horribly painful. It's like just horribly painful, and I had to go to the urgent care, and they're like, wow, they had never seen anyone break out in hives so thoroughly head to toe. And they're like, "You must be so itchy." And I'm like, "No, I am in intense pain." I know it's confusing because I'm smiling. That's how I deal with pain. It's weird. I'm aware. But it was bizarre, and that's odd that the hives would hurt me. And I'm like, yay. So then I have allergy testing, and I'm allergic to everything. I've never been allergic to anything in my entire life, and suddenly I'm allergic to the world. And I'm like, none of this makes sense. And they're like, no, it does. I was even allergic to the allergy testing pins. Like it was real weird. And they said, and mainly it was cows. And they're like, "Oh, have you been touching cows?" I'm like, "No." And no, I haven't. Like, "Are you sure?" I mean, my dad is a horse, and the horses are different. August, July type areas of where this is all timeline-wise. Finally, not finally. I'm working out one night at the gym, and I realized suddenly I can't hold my arm up very long. And I was like, that's weird. I'm just really hurting. I can't hold my arm. Maybe I like pulled a muscle, and I don't know. I just didn't feel it. The following week, I'm back at boxing, and I literally could only hold my arm up for the first 5 minutes, and then I couldn't. I couldn't pick my arm up. Like, I could move it. I couldn't like hold it up, and that kind of freaked me out. So I've lost control of my arm. At that point, my skin started to scald itself. I didn't know that was a thing, but your skin, pretty much you're on fire from the inside out. And I would turn blood red in areas, and it was literally like someone had just like set parts of my skin on fire. It was probably the most painful thing I've ever felt in my life, to the point like I would fall down on the floor, like just I literally would like grip the carpet and just try and like count through my mind, just trying to get through it. And the thing was that it was really quick. It wasn't like I was on there for like a couple hours laying on the floor. Like, these things would hit and it would be very quick, but it would be like just horrible. Like, it literally felt I was on fire. And I always like cry. I mean, I don't cry much, but it was bad. The stuff on my face pretty much started turning into full-on holes. The BB would come out, and they would gotten bigger and bigger, and then it would split open, and there would be a hole, like a really deep hole, as if you'd taken like a thick pin and stabbed me through. All right, so now I have holes opening on my face. I go back to the doctor. Keep in mind the arm thing, there's holes on my face. This neck thing has gotten really crazy looking, and one has opened up now in my leg. And I'm in intense pain. And the doctor said that I had a yeast overgrowth in my gut. That wasn't from a lab. That was just her telling me that's probably what it was. So she puts me on this like really crazy diet, and I'm like, look, I'll do the diet, but I want you to swab my face. And she was like, no, it's not gonna make a difference. And listen to me, I don't care if insurance doesn't pay for it. I don't care if it comes back, like you're saying, and there's no point. I want you to swab my face. I will cut off a chunk if that's what it takes. Please swab my face. This isn't acne. This isn't an allergic reaction. So she was like, fine, whatever. She swabs my face. This is during the hurricane. So I go on this stupid diet. I'm on it for like 4 days, and finally my lab results come back, and they call me and go, you have to get to Walmart right now, like, and pick up your prescription. And they send me over this form, and they found a heavy growth of this certain type of bacteria, Klebsiella, oxa, blah, blah, blah. So I start on that antibiotic. Hold on, things are starting to get more interesting. I start on that antibiotic, it's not helping, but I have a great attitude, so we're gonna try it. I'm getting worse and worse, and this time, like, I can barely be awake. I'm awake for like 3 hours a day. And it was just like, it got to the point, like, walking up the stairs winded me. Like, I would get to the top of the stairs, like, and I was like, this isn't, whatever this is, isn't normal. And no one is listening to me. Probably the scariest thing was I was driving home one night, and I suddenly realized, well, my arm had started acting up again to where I couldn't raise it. I'd noticed that at work, and then my face stopped. Like, I could feel myself having a hard time talking, and like my eye was kind of like, I couldn't move it. And I called my parents on my way home, and I was just like, because everything had already kind of started falling apart, and I was just like, listen, I'm coming home right now. You have to take me to the emergency room. And they're like, what? You have to take me. So I pack a little bag, it was adorable. I go to the emergency room, and I tell them everything that's been going on. And of course, by the time I get to the emergency room, my face actually loosened up a lot, and my arm, I could lift it a little more, of course. And I go over everything that's been happening, and I've been getting these really painful stabs. It's like if you took a really long needle, okay, and you just, as fast as you can, it would like shoot through me. And when it would happen, it was so bad that I would jolt. Like, I would literally jolt. And I couldn't just like sit down. I had to stand and keep moving, because that's the only way I could deal with it. And the doctor, one of them, sits me down, and he goes, have you ever had your hand fall asleep? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, you know that odd feeling? It kind of feels like pricks and needles. And I'm like, yeah. Well, I think that's what it is. I would. First of all, that doesn't explain anything else. But what? This isn't my whole body randomly falling to sleep in areas, and it doesn't feel like that. I've already told him it feels like I'm being stabbed, and I guess he's like, sure it does. However, they looked at me and I did have some sporadic paralysis, and they said that the infection I had clearly had gotten into my nervous system, but it's okay because I'm taking antibiotics and they'll kick in soon. So I was sent back home. What happened the next few days? I continue to have the scalding thing. It's getting worse and worse. The holes in my face, I can barely move, and didn't realize what it was at first. I just felt like I'd been kicked in the chest. And I was just like, I just could not figure out what was wrong with me. And I'm like trying to check my heart rate, and I'm like trying to count it and stuff, and it's out of control. And I'm like calling my paramedic friend, and I could barely breathe. Like I was sitting on the couch, and I was scared to go to sleep. And I remember looking up the ceiling in my bed thinking, God, I hope I don't die this way. This is really lame. Like that's what's going through my mind. And I don't know what to do because no one is helping me with this stuff. Like medical wise, my parents are great. So those started happening. And I learned that aspirin is amazing. Oh my God. Like I got to the point I had one of them, and these would go on for hours, and I was like, I'd have to keep chewing up aspirin, and like one aspirin chewed up would last a good 20 minutes, and it would leave. And then it would start coming back, that horrible, like I'm being like just horrible like pain on my chest. And I'd pop some more. And it was funny because once I realized what that was, it's been happening a lot this past year. Like I remember being in like boxing and stuff and fighting, and suddenly it would be like someone knocked the wind out of me, except no one had touched me. And I'd just be like, is this delayed? And it would just be weird because I was just like, what? You know, literally it just felt like someone had walked up and knocked the wind, but no one had even come near me. So that was probably the scariest time of all this. We're not done. I go back to the doctors and stuff. My face, I woke up one day and the entire like side of my face had gotten hard. And I went to my dad. My dad's like the strongest person ever and hates the doctor. Like he will probably like lose a leg and still try and like hot glue it on before he goes to the doctor. And so I go to him and I'm like, Dad, this is all dead. My entire face, it's swollen too, it's crazy looking, is dead. I was like, what do we do? What do we do? And he was like, we gotta go to the doctor. We go back to the doctor. I'm literally like waiting for them to open the doors. I'm like, they're gonna see me right away. And they take like a bunch of labs and all that kind of stuff. I'm sent home. In the meantime, these holes on my face start like gushing blood. And if you've ever seen it, the scene where the blood shoots out of the sink and grabs the girl and stuff, and the whole bathroom's bloody, that was my bathroom. It's like there was blood everywhere. That's how bad this thing is, like pouring blood out of my face. It was really horrifying. So they sent my, whatever labs that they took, they sent them over to infectious disease. And infectious disease called and they said, you have to get to the emergency room right now. Now the fun starts. So I go to the emergency room and I wind up in isolation for the next 7 nights and 7 days because I went in at nighttime. And what isolation is, it's like you have quarantine, which is really, really scary. And then you have isolation, which is like not as scary. And I'm straight up in like the tuberculosis room. So you have to like go through like a little section to get to me. And I'm just like laying there on the hospital bed. And they only had to wear like full little gown outfits for 2 days. But pretty much for the first 3 days, I was just hooked up to IVs nonstop. The infectious disease doctor came in, looked at everything. They ran more tests, all this stuff. And they started talking about having to take this off. About getting a plastic surgeon to come in. It's apparently with face stuff, it's just easier to have a plastic surgeon do the surgery. So I mean, I'm looking at probably losing like a good third of my face. And it was funny because I mean, I guess because it was so ridiculous, I just wanted it all to be over. I was at the point where I didn't care. I'd like mentally accepted, okay, I'm gonna lose half my face. If that's what it takes, because this is horrifying. I'm literally a goblin. I'm in so much pain. They started having to put me on morphine, and I don't know what else to do. So mentally I'd accepted it. It wasn't like I was even like crying over it. I'm like, bring him in. Sooner the better. Get a knife, I'll start. Whatever we gotta do. So I'm in there. The skin and everything dies and turns into like this huge wound, and it's like all over my face. I have multiple of them, but this one was like a giant chunk. That dies, and slowly like then I don't know, where it just like came out of my face. And they decided not to do any surgery. They were kind of like, they came in and they were like, we're just gonna hold off and see how this all goes. Cool. So I'm on a lot of IVs. Hospital was like, as you saw from my other video, interesting. I was literally trapped in that room 24/7, and it was really funny. So also on my hall, like the wing was really quiet, I was on. But also was where they kept the prisoners, like when prisoners need medical stuff. So I'm literally on the same wing as the prisoners. Like this is the wing you have to keep separated from the general population. So I'm like really, really special. And then I was kind of thinking about one night, I'm like, I'm locked in here, but they can get in. So I'm like, I'm not really that safe. It's the opposite of safety for me. I'll just rub my face all over them. It's cool. I don't even know where I'm at in my story. I'm so lost. I had so many doctors like look at me and different things, and I was just, I was on so many drugs, and they had to keep like, you know, one of the drugs I was on was like really intense and it like tears up your veins. So they'd have to keep coming in and like every day switching it. So my arms are like purple, they're sore just because they have to keep moving them around, and it's just killing me. They put a PICC line in. It's where they stick it in here and it goes straight to your heart. When they did it too far and it pierced my right atrium, because why not? Why not at this point, right? So then I'm in the hospital a little bit longer because of that. I literally, right after they did it, I was sitting there in the bed and I go, I don't want to ask a stupid question, and I have a feeling if I ask this, it's going to be a big deal, but should I be able to feel it? And they're like, feel what? And I'm like, the PICC line, I can feel it inside of me. And they're like, no, what do you mean you feel it? I'm like, I feel it inside of me. I can tell you exactly where it's at. I was like, it hurts. And I was really scared at first, like I was just being whiny. And they brought the x-ray in there and like, oh God, no, you're not. So it really ran. like through the parking lot walking to Walmart to pick up my prescription, and I got winded. And I'm like, and he's like, Rachel, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, this is the most I've exercised in a week. And it was just crazy. Like, it's just stuff you don't think about. Like, I really hadn't moved that much. Like, I really hadn't. And I'd slept a lot, but still. So kind of on like 6 months of rehab. Super fun. Just kind of now, like I said, doing rehab. As far as like the nerve damage stuff, they were like, well, you know, it could get better or it could get worse. Well,
hold your breath, okay?
Okay.
Don't let your breath
Back to shooting normal stuff at some point when I'm not passing out every few hours.